this issue of lead pollution, is it just serial killers, or is there an elevated amount of violent crime that goes along with it?
Yeah, the issue of serial killers is one that I kind of introduced as the most extreme example.
Right.
But most of the research that's been done has focused on aggression, juvenile delinquency, for example. There are long-term studies that look at kids who were exposed to lead, including in relatively small amounts, and then what happens to them later. By the time they're, teenagers or young adults. And they have shown a very strong association with problems with learning, ADHD, and as I said, delinquency and crime.
And they've even shown that in places that don't have smelters, where people are just dealing with leaded gasoline that was used up until the 1990s, right?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, decrease in IQ, a lot of factors that they can directly tie into just the lead from gasoline, which is significantly less than I would assume you'd get from a large-scale smelting operation.
Yeah, and the leaded gas is particularly tragic because that was essentially a kind of horrific experiment that was conducted on generations of kids in this country.
Yeah.
And adults, because everybody was exposed to that. Obviously, some people more than others. If you lived next to a major highway or something like that, you were getting more of it than if you maybe lived somewhere else. Although I think rural people were also exposed because of the kinds of machinery and stuff that's used on farms and so forth. So it was a terrible idea, and they knew that at the time. The companies, the corporations, the people who introduced it, Standard Oil, DuPont, etc., they knew the dangers of this. They were told by medical doctors who said, this will expose everybody to more lead than human beings have ever had to deal with before.
Wow.
And
they just did it to stop the engines from knocking.
They did, and apparently there were alternatives, but the alternatives, which were like ethanol, were not something that could be patented and were not products that you could make money off of. And so all these corporations chose to do this.
Oh, God.
Yeah. I mean, it's really almost unreal to think about the moral failure that this... I mean, failure doesn't even seem strong enough.
It doesn't. It's so evil. It's so strange how many times that has happened in human history and in fairly recent history, where companies know what they're putting out or what they're releasing or what they're prescribing or whatever it is going to damage people. And they know that short term they can make a lot of money, and so they do it anyway.
Yeah, and they did for decades because, this began in the 20s and 30s.
So we can assume that the smelting thing they probably didn't know, correct? Like, it's at least in the 1800s.
Yeah, in the 1800s, they probably weren't thinking about stuff like that. They didn't have data on it. But by the time the companies really got up and running, and the smelter in Tacoma was owned by a company called ASARCO, which was the American Smelting and Refining Company, owned by the Guggenheim family.
Oh, boy.
But
they've done so much for art.
Yeah, I mean, it's just...
That's what they like to do.
Yeah, it's a total kind of whitewashing the reputation.
Yeah.
And they were among the, earlier corporations to do that, and totally successfully.
It's so dark. My friend Peter Berg explained to me the origins of the Nobel Prize. Did you know the origins of the Nobel Prize?
It has something to do with explosives, right?
Yes. The gentleman who the Nobel Prize is named after, they erroneously reported that he was dead in the newspaper. And they called him the Merchant of Death in the newspaper. And you're like, oh, my God, this is what people think about me because he invented dynamite. And so he's like, I've got to do something to clean up my reputation. So he devised this strategy of awarding this prestigious award named after him to all the great scientists and Nobel Peace Prize and all these different things. So now when people hear the term Nobel, like, oh, he's a Nobel laureate. Oh, he's a Nobel Prize winner. And that's the origin of it. It was just a whitewashing operation.
Yeah, I mean, the same thing happened with the guy who invented the leaded gas formula, Thomas Midgley, who was really a terrible guy. I mean, he invented the leaded gas stuff. He also invented chlorofluorocarbons, the stuff in refrigerants that cause the
Ozone layer hole?
The hole in the ozone layer.
Oh, terrific.
So, like, two of the most devastating discoveries, scientific discoveries in the 20th century are down to this guy. And he was awarded the, highest medal from the, American Chemistry Association, which he still holds. I mean, even though he became really ill as a result, I think, of working with this tetraethyl, it's called, the substance that was added to leaded gas. And he, went to Florida to try and heal himself of this, which I don't think you can do. I mean, I don't think going to Florida heals lead exposure. But he developed something which was called polio. He became unable to walk, and he invented this whole bizarre kind of system of pulleys that he could use to lift himself out of bed, and eventually he strangled to death in this sort of harness thing, which it may have been suicide, it may have been an accident, kind of unclear.